We use Premiere to sort of put our projects all together as a composite, and we use After Effects to do animations and things like, I mean, for this particular video, it was a lot of very simple animations, just like slow zooms and pans over pictures. But we can also do more complicated things there, like, you know, illustrating processes or like inventing little scenes and characters and whatnot. This project, I mean, it's a bit of a longer video. It's about 12 minutes. So it took a while to put together. I would say maybe like a week a week of just straight editing work for me. But before that, there was a lot of, I would say, a month on and off of doing interviews here and there and writing the script, putting it all together and shooting different things. So that's one interesting thing about our team is that, I mean, a lot of projects are done by just one person. I mean, sometimes it can be like 2 or 3 people, but I mean, for this one, I did all the animations. For a lot of videos, I will do everything. That's kind of the standard for our team because everyone is equipped to do everything. They know how to do every part of the process. So a lot of times we just take total ownership. It's really just in you know, really hefty projects or when there's like a quick news turnaround that will split things up. So yeah, everybody on the team is definitely like a one-man band when it comes to that, like writing, researching, editing, animating. Yeah, I mean, I guess I had been used to, all my life I'd been pretty used to like agreeing with my family on most things. You know, we didn't necessarily fight about a whole lot of stuff, but after I left for school and, you know, came back and was hanging out with my parents and my grandparents, and we started talking about this tradition. It was something that I hadn't necessarily thought about very critically. For a long time, it was always just like, you know, something I grew up with, something in the back of my head. But I just started having a lot of really tense conversations with them where I was like, this is, you know, it's really crazy that this still happens. And I don't know, to see that on a personal level definitely inspired me. Because I realized there was so much context to be provided to the people who celebrate this and also to the people who don't know about this being a thing, being a tradition, being a practice. So, I mean, there was a lot to work with there. And it being such a personal thing definitely made it easier to tell and more, just felt more important to me. People were very receptive. Yeah, everybody I talked to was really great, very easy to work with. I mean, the tough thing was finding the right people. So, I mean, the 3 people that I have in the video, one is an academic whose work I just came across on Google Books as I was doing some initial research. The other guy is a big activist in sort of, you know, the resistance movement against this tradition. And I just reached out to an organization that he runs, and he got back to me directly. And I was doing all of this over email.
Okay.
Same with the last guy, who's like a city organizer for for Amsterdam. But yeah, I mean, I say it took a month just in terms of like scheduling, and I was also working on this very, very far in advance because I knew that it had to come out on a certain day. You know, I needed it to come out last Friday ahead of the holiday weekend for the Dutch holiday. So So if it had been sort of like a loose deadline thing, I wouldn't necessarily have started so far in advance. But I knew I needed it to come out now, so had to get started early. To be honest, nothing was really hard about producing this one. It's probably, I mean, I was so inspired by the topic and interested in it that it all came pretty easily. And I had a lot of fun making it, but the hard part has been dealing with a lot of the backlash to it, because I've just never gotten this many tweets and emails and Facebook messages at me, which has been, I mean, it was a little stressful at first, and then you just kind of learn to ignore it. But, yeah, I mean, seeing how strongly people feel about this and encountering so many messages from readers where I can't necessarily engage in the argument with them is rough. You know, like you can't pick every fight. Right. And that's probably been the hardest part so far. Oh, that's tough. I think in terms of dealing with the response, you have to, I mean, because there were some people who had like small problems that they emailed me about that I did respond to. And I mean, I found that once you level with people on what they care about, you know, sort of establish that common understanding. And I think as a journalist, really explaining who your audience is also important, because a lot of people were upset. A lot of Dutch people, you can imagine, were upset about seeing this on their Facebook timeline and seeing it as something that they've already heard so much about. Like, they're just exhausted about this, and they feel it's kind of silly for like some American dude to be, you know, preaching to them or explaining their own culture to them. But that's one thing about, you know, when you make stuff and put it on the internet, you do it for a certain audience. I mean, I wasn't necessarily making this for Dutch people. Most Dutch people know what this is. But, you know, like, Dutch publications were just reposting this video. And the audience just changes. Like, everyone can see this stuff, so they don't necessarily, even though you know you make this kind of thing for an American audience, it's not, they're not going to be the only ones viewing it. And that that's good to keep in mind. We've covered this before in the past. I think we've only been around for 2 years, but I'm pretty sure the past 2 Christmases that we've had, we've written published stories about Black Pete. And those have always done well, but I do think there is something, I mean, of course, with this subject in particular, there's something very valuable to the images, and especially with, you know, how much protest video was featured in this. That's the kind of thing that you don't really get a same understanding of the scale and, you know, the qualities of just from reading, and even from images. You don't get exactly the same idea. So yeah, I think there's a lot of this that was pretty uniquely visual for video. That's a good question. I mean, honestly, maybe it could have been interesting to pitch it as a thing that I could have traveled for, you know, to go to the Netherlands, because, you know, I did get a lot of complaints that I only featured one side of the argument, even though, I mean, I did include one guy describing, I mean, I included a few voices describing why they want to keep it the way. But none of my direct sources that I spoke to were like strong supporters of Black Pete. So, I mean, if anything, I guess I just would have done it bigger. I mean, there are plenty of like small editing errors that I would have loved to just like polish up forever, but there are deadlines. Honestly, just like messing around is huge. I mean, all of my time in high school and college, I was just playing with Premiere a lot, playing with After Effects a lot. You know, watch stuff online on YouTube and Vimeo. If you see effects that you don't know how to do, just mess around until you can like hack your way into copying them. You know, I remember like doing really cheap, cheesy ways of sort of mimicking cool editing techniques that I saw in like Vimeo videos. But, you know, just kind of having that understanding of the programs definitely helped. Yeah, and just like surrounding yourself by stuff that you respect and you would like to do is always good. I mean, it's obviously something you just have to do your whole life, I guess.